unlike traditional multifamily or traditional long-term investing, a lot of folks like to go to, landlord-friendly states like Texas, like Florida, like Scottsdale, Arizona. But, the opposite is true for us. We like to go in areas that maybe are a little bit more tenant-friendly because those areas tend to have more bureaucracy, more red tape. And with that comes tight short-term rental regulations, meaning we as hotel operators, we don't need to compete with a bunch of Airbnbs, but also markets that have tightening short-term rental regulations, that's going to bring more demand over to the boutique hotels, which is ultimately what's going to drive our valuations. All right, guys, welcome to another episode of The Report. Today, I am really excited because I got someone special who's actually in our boutique hotel mastermind. He's all the way out from Seattle. I got my man, Kassidy Warren. Kassidy, welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm super excited that you're in town about a whole week, and we get to go rip tonight, hang out with some of the other folks in the mastermind at Coco Maya here in downtown San Diego, Little Italy. But dude, man, I'm super excited for this conversation and excited to learn more about your past and your journey and kind of what you're up to in the space. But dude, to start, man, we were just talking before we started recording, man. You haven't drank in how long?
It's been 7 years now. Yep.
7 years, man.
7 years.
And I'm curious because, I'm on this new chapter and it's only been, I want to say almost 4 weeks now for me. And dude, it's been a game changer, but I'm curious, like, what was the reason you stopped drinking back then?
Really, it was that I could tell that it wasn't serving me any longer, right? I was sort of drinking every night, like bottle of wine or more, and then drinking more on the weekends. And I could feel myself, like my vocabulary was going down. Like I could really feel myself almost like going backwards in a way. And it just wasn't serving me anymore. It wasn't aligned with what I wanted to do or who I wanted to be. And so my wife was great. She was there gently kind of poking me a little bit. And so I knew it was eventually going to have to happen. And so I made the decision, and honestly, it's been the best thing that I've ever done. I haven't run into like a lot of the negative situations that some people talk about, and it was really easier than I expected it to be. And I don't like saying that all the time because I know there's a lot of people out there that have struggled with it and have really bad cravings and like relapse a lot and all that. But for me, as soon as I made that decision, it was like a game changer, and like everything changed. And I definitely wouldn't be where I am today without.
Without it.
Yeah.
How many days a week were you drinking on
It
average?
was every night. Yeah.
Every night?
Yeah, it was every night.
7
Yeah.
nights a week, damn.
Yeah, man. I can go into it, but it was just, from college into corporate life, like it just didn't stop. And then during that time, it was like beer festivals, wine tastings. It was like every night there was some social event. This was in my 20s. So yeah, I think I was 30 years old when I stopped. And there was always a reason. But then I realized it just sort of became habitual, right? So coming home from work sucked. And
Yeah. I think the reason I drank for so long is because I was fortunate enough to like, be able to go out and have drinks like 3 times a week and still be able to like move the needle, and so I was like, okay, like I'm still like growing, I'm still doing some cool stuff. And so I was like, I kind of justified it. But what I didn't realize was, now that I'm not drinking, I'm like, okay, those days that let's just say it was 2 to 3 days a week, the whole next day I was operating at a specific capacity that was not my 100% self. And now I'm able to operate at the 110% every single day. And like, that is a game changer for me. And so, I don't know, I was just talking with Jason Trees, a little while ago, mindset coach. And we were talking about how, when you do something new, it either feels light or it feels heavy. And I know a lot of people, they stop drinking and they need accountability and all this stuff, and they could really relapse. But the reason I know that I'm like truly aligned with this new life of not drinking is because it's been relatively easy, like you said. Like I'm just in alignment with it. I don't need the accountability. I was actually just out in Vegas last weekend for Cascade. Like I got bottle service. I bought bottle service so we could like have a good time, but I didn't drink. And I can go out and be around the alcohol and like I'm totally fine. I don't even have one urge to do it because I'm so in alignment. And it's interesting because like at the beginning of the night, you go out dinner at 7 o'clock, and then like as the night progresses, you start to see people get a little bit more drunk.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, it's like around midnight, I'm like, okay, people are like turning up, and like I'm not having conversations with them anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, it's time to roll out.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like it's sort of a journey of self-discovery a little bit where you realize it's just not part of, at least for me, that it
Yeah.
just isn't part of who I am. I don't need it. It's habitual. And then, yeah, the days after, like, I had some hard days at work because I was so hungover or whatever, and, like, that doesn't feel good to me either, right? And I'm not serving, like, my other people in
You're
that
just
way.
barely getting by. You're
Yeah,
surviving.
you're just barely getting by. It's not fun.
You're not
And
moving the
then
needle.
yeah, and then I remember, okay, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock would come around. I'm starting to feel better, and then go home and then like, grab another beer or whatever. And like, but yeah, I thought when I quit that if I went out, it would be really hard, and that
Yes.
I wouldn't be having as much fun or whatever. But because I knew it was what I wanted to do, and it was such a part of like my future, that it was like no question. And like I get amped up when I'm out with other
Me
people. Like,
too.
yeah,
It's almost
like
like I'm drinking, but I'm
exact
not.
it is almost like I'm drinking. Like it's a weird feeling. I'm like, "Oh, it's like I'm drinking," but no, I'm just like getting hyped being around people that are having a good time. And then like you said, around midnight or whatever, like when people start repeating stories or like when people are really getting slurry, like then I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna go to bed. I'm out,"
Yeah,
Like
dude.
I like my
And then
sleep.
you wake
So
up and you feel great and like, it's even on like a Saturday, Sunday, you wake up at like, even if it's 8 o'clock in the morning, that's still a lot earlier than most of those people because a lot of those people that I go out with, they're in bed the whole next day,
yep. The whole next
and
day
if
watching Netflix,
yeah,
like,
and so,
yeah.
I'll get up at 8 on a Saturday, like, that's still pretty damn good, for most people, and, I'll get a good workout in, go hike, go walk the bay, and, like, yeah, dude, and then you got the whole rest of the day, you're like, "What's next?" And all of a sudden, you got all this free time, and, I'm working on the business more, I'm working on my fitness more, my social life has gone up, and I still have more free time. I'm like, This is amazing."
Dude, it's a life hack for sure.
It's such a big life hack.
Yeah, I think, society's put all this stuff, and I don't need to talk about it, but like there's so much where it's ingrained in everything that we do. And then people get comfortable. It's a reward system for people having a long day, or it could be a good day. So let's go celebrate. And it just gets ingrained in how we reward
Yeah,
ourselves or
it's a
treat ourselves.
celebration.
Yeah. And then it
Or
like,
if it's a bad day, it's like a way to, like, drown your sorrows.
exactly. So it's like on both sides, and then it just takes away from you. Like it takes energy, it takes time, it takes your health. Like, it is poison. And like I don't judge people for
No, neither do I,
no, no,
because
no,
I get
but
it.
yeah, I get
I
it.
thought it was so fun for 38 years, and now I'm just like, I totally respect people that go out and do. I totally get it, and I support it. It's just like I don't miss it because I did it for 38 years, and now like this next 38 years, like I'm gonna like I want to see how far I can go, and I just realized like at age 38, like I'm never gonna truly know what my full potential was if I kept drinking.
That's right.
It's as simple as that.
That's right.
It's as simple as that,
Yeah, that's a
and I don't want to
huge
die not knowing my full
no,
potential.
that's exactly right. Yeah, like that's a huge like theme in my life is especially right now is like what is your full potential and how do you go get it? Yeah, there's it's funny on my my report cards like a few years ago I was just like digging through some stuff and like multiple sets of my report cards when I was a kid was Cassidy's not living up to his full potential. And like I think that's been sort of a theme in my life and so this has been like the year in the past couple of years of like really, yeah, growth and digging in and saying like, what am I capable of? And sort of opening myself up to that.
And so, what would you say has really led to like what's been the big driver for a lot of the growth over the last 2 years for you?
Yeah, it's been reaching out and working on myself specifically and getting help around that. So that's a business coach, like hired a business coach. I'm in therapy and have an amazing therapist, and like it's been life changing for that. And then getting in your mentorship, habits, really focusing on daily habits, right? And creating some level of structure or habit stacking without like just doing everything and getting overwhelmed and like anxious around trying to like do it all, and then taking daily steps every day, taking steps to be better, do better, reach out, post content, and then just focus on my fitness,
Mm,
the fitness piece, and I think this is really interesting, like, there's so many people that do, like, 75 hard,
yeah.
and so many of them are like, "Oh, well, it turned into, like, 75 soft," and it's like, well, to me, that's a little bit of an excuse, because it's hard, right? But I think all of us are athletes in some way, like, we were meant to move, we're meant to be fit, we're meant to be outside a decent amount of time, and increasing your level of fitness for anyone, whoever you are, is gonna improve your life dramatically, and getting very consistent with it.
Yeah, I agree, man. And I remember we were down in Cabo for our retreat, and a few of you folks were talking about doing the 75 hard, and I know some folks decided to do kind of a 75 soft, and I get it. It is not meant to be easy, I know for me right now, like I'm not doing the 75 hard, but like with the no drinking, like I'm just really dialed. And most days I am getting a lift in first thing in the morning, and then I'm getting my 4 or 5 miles in the evening, walking the bay or doing a hike. And dude, it just feels so good, man. But I know what I'm doing is sustainable really long term. It's not just for 75 days. It's not a sprint. Like what I'm doing works for me and it's going to be sustainable long term. And in over the next 3 to 6 months, I'm going to see my body completely transform, and it's not something I'm going to do for 2.5 months and then I'm going to stop. You know what I mean?
That's right. And yeah, I'm not saying that 75 hard is for everybody, but I've seen it so often when people talk about it. And it does have to be sustainable and it does have to be for you. Like for me, I need to be outdoors, trail running, mountain biking, paddleboarding, like, and if I'm running on asphalt or pavement, like that's not fun for me. And so that's not going to be a good consistency builder for
Sure.
me.
But you'll do it if you need to.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Cause I need to get out and I need to do it for me. Right. But so everybody needs to find their thing. But I
That
think
works for them.
that's
Because
right.
everyone's going to have a different strategy that works for them.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I realized. So,
Yeah.
what works for me is I love going to the gym first thing in the morning, getting my lift in. If I don't go first thing in the morning, like the rest of my day just is not as dialed. And let's be honest, like after you got out of the office at 4 or 5 p.m., you have every excuse in the book not to go. There's a lot of distractions. You're more tired because you've already gone throughout the whole day. Yeah, the gym, I don't like going to the gym in the afternoon. I feel like, at least at my gym, in the morning, you go in there at like 6:30, like the energy in there is awesome. Like people are in there because they want to be in there. They're dialed. They're like the go-getters and there's a certain vibe about it. And I walk in, the music's pumping, and people are like in this like certain energy, and I love that frequency. Now, when I go in at 5 o'clock, I feel like people are just dragging around. They're in there because they have to be in there, and they're just kind of like going through the motions. And I hate that energy. I just don't like it.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a reason I think between the 2, right? I'm
Yeah.
definitely a morning gym person,
Yes.
right? And I do OTF, like, to supplement
What's
some
that?
Orange Theory
Okay.
Fitness.
Yep. I'm
Yeah,
familiar.
and I wasn't a huge fan of it in the beginning, but because I travel, like, they're everywhere, and it's like a guaranteed amazing
I didn't know
workout.
they were like nationwide.
Yeah, oh, they're everywhere, yeah, so I can go anywhere, and I'm, like, guaranteed to get a good workout in, I don't have to think about it, and I've been going to the one over in Point Loma, and in the morning, it's been incredible,
Mm.
like, there's so many people, it's up early, like, they're go-getters, and I've been pushing myself hard, like, in that class, and it's great, like, you need other people around you, even in that scenario, like in a gym, to help you, like, get better.
Oh, 100%, man. It's huge. So you mentioned habits. Give me an example of like some of the habits that you might do throughout the day.
Yeah, so typically, when I wake up, I'll make my coffee because I have to, and then depending on what workout I'm doing for the day, I'll either go straight into a workout or run or whatever. But the 2 big ones are, journaling, every morning, and it's a specific type of journaling where it's not just, like, kinda writing down my thoughts, it's, like, sort of, like, manifesting and owning the things that I want. It's saying a lot of "I am" or "I have" statements, so I'm really focused on, like, projecting my future and who I am as if it's already happened. And I'll read through a lot of what I've already written too. And what that does for me is it reminds me of what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, who I am. And there's just something about putting pen to paper. Like if you're in your head a lot and you're not writing stuff down, like it can cause anxiety. It can do a lot of things,
Because it gets sidetracked.
sidetrack, lost, tangents, all that. And then you'd be amazed at what you write down when you actually sit down and actually write it. And so that's been a big one. I read 10 pages every day. And typically that's in the morning as well, but sometimes at night. I do a workout every single day. I try to reach out to like 5 different people or more every day, either business connections, real estate connections, or just friends and family, go on Instagram, show love. And then I try to post content in the morning as well.
Yeah, I like kind of your order of things because for me, I live by the idea that like the most important things you should get done first thing in the morning. So for me, the two most important things every single day I wake up is fitness, because all these things that we do to better ourselves, to create financial freedom, to build wealth, none of that matters if you don't have your health, right? So fitness, I prioritize that first thing in the morning, and then getting a piece of content out first thing in the morning. That's also the second most important thing for me, really. And so if I can start my morning with both of those, like it's gonna be a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think a big shift for me was like getting really selfish with my time and my energy.
Okay.
And I think if everybody out there started there first, right? If you're, a husband or a wife or mother or father, and your whole goal is to help your family and your kids,
You gotta make sure you're taken care of first.
yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup. And so really getting selfish with your time and energy first, becoming the best version of yourself first so that you can be the best version for everyone in your life, right? And help others or whatever your goals are. But yeah.
It's the same reason when you like fly on a Southwest flight, they say if in the event of an emergency, the oxygen masks come down, like you put yours on first before you take care of your kids,
Yeah,
you
same
know?
exact principle.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean,
So
if you can't breathe or if you're not in a good example, like just in life, like I see this all the time where parents are, they got kids or whatever, and they're sacrificing certain things they want to do, and things they desire in favor of their kids. But in all reality, it's like your kid is going to be inspired if they see their parents going after their dreams. You know what I mean?
that's right. It's such a good point, and it's reality, right? They will see you working hard to be like a good parent, but they're gonna be better off if they see you happy and going after your dreams and struggle through that and get accomplishments through that and celebrate as a family together. Like, proximity is power. And, these kids that grow up in these maybe more affluent families or more successful or people that were business owners, like they end up having a bit of a leg up because they're in proximity to people that are accomplishing things, right? It's a real thing to come from an environment where there's no mentors, there's no people around, no community, nothing that's helping like inspire or motivate or be an example for people. And so if you can do that yourself, whether you're running a business or running a family, like you should go do that for yourself and for everyone around you.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I'm curious. You own 9 short-term rentals right now, which is pretty impressive. And before this, what were you doing before you got into real estate investing?
Yeah, so I was in corporate and I was an engineer to start. So love numbers. I love building things. As a kid, I had a computer like in middle school. It was early internet days. And so taught myself how to code, like built websites, taught myself how to do that, was building computers. And so that led into engineering. And I was in corporate and I was building some really cool stuff as an engineer. I was building these giant, massive infrastructure projects. Like they gave me a ton of responsibility. I loved it. I was learning, I was growing, I was mentoring interns. And then every couple of years, I would sort of do a new job because it was something that I didn't realize is that I'm like addicted to learning and growing a little bit,
Yeah, we all
Like,
are.
yeah. And that's what really gets me excited is learning and growing and doing new things and leaving an impact. So I ended up in this massive IT project at work, and I was running a big portion of it. And at the time, I was like, "Oh, I want to run the company." Sort of manifesting that sort of stuff, like running the company or being an executive, and because that's what I was really focused on. And then what ended up happening is I was looking at a lot of the leaders and the other people that I was working with, especially now that I had like more direct access to everybody, and a lot of them weren't happier. They didn't like they were still commuting. They were doing a ton of work on the weekends. Like they weren't slowing down or like getting a better life necessarily at a higher level.
At a higher level, yeah.
Yeah. And so
You weren't inspired by them.
I wasn't inspired, and it's nothing that they did or didn't do. It was just I was sort of seeing the hamster wheel in real time and the trap. I call it a trap because my schedule at that time was wake up, commute to work, work for 10 hours, commute, dinner, sleep, and,
Yeah,
repeat.
yeah, and
Like,
some alcohol. You were drinking back then, right?
yeah, I was drinking back then. Yeah, yeah, and it was getting worse during that time, right? And the other thing that was going on is I'm a pretty positive person. I love being around really positive people, high vibrational situations, like really negative stuff, drama, like all that toxicity. I'm like, don't want it around me, right? But what was going on is basically my day, because of my role, my day was full of conflict conversations. So I was resolving people conflicts, project conflicts, vendor conflicts, like all this stuff. It was just all conflict all day. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so my wife and I, we were walking around our neighborhood. I think actually the leader of the project had just gotten fired. And I was like, well, if he can't make it, like, what am I doing? And
Mm.
so we were sort of walking around the neighborhood and reflecting on everything. And we live in a nice neighborhood. And there's a lot of really nice houses. And I was looking around, I was like, what do all these people do? Right. I know there's Microsoft, I know there's Facebook, Amazon, Google, but a lot of these people are only here half time. Like, what do they do? And so that's like when I just started literally Googling, like, what do wealthy people do? to get their money. And that's when real estate started popping up. And that's when I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and like,
Game changer.
that was a game changer,
Yeah.
dude. Like that's when I learned the difference between an asset and a liability. I was like, oh, okay. And then the cash flow quadrant. I was like, oh, I am paying the most taxes right now. I'm working the hardest. I want to move over to this side.
For me, Cashflow Quadrant was like very moving. It gets you in the right mindset. You're not going to learn real estate investing, but you're going to get in the right mindset. But for me, after I read Cashflow Quadrant, it changed the way I looked at money forever. But it also helped me understand like my peers and like the reasons they acted the way they did.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Yes.
100%.
Because when you identify which quadrant someone's in, you learn a lot more about the reasons why they act a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah. And no knock on them or anything. It was just, the other thing that would always happen at work is everyone would always tell me I'm like different. Like, Kassidy, you're not a typical engineer. Like, you know how to talk to people is like what they would say a lot of times. But I realized that I was starting to be a little different. And I don't know if you've seen the show Silicon Valley.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
So basically,
I don't watch a lot of TV, dude.
What ends up happening is there's a scene where these software developers have to go build a box. And if you know anything about software developers, they don't want to build a box. They want to build something really nice and shiny and fancy. And so then they're going to tour the place where they built the box. And it's like the saddest, like it's just like it was how I was feeling. It was like, oh my God, this is me. I'm like building a box and I need to stop building this box and just like go do my own thing. Right. And so yeah, and then before that, we had been renting our we'd been renting our condo, our spare bedroom in our condo for a couple of years. And so this is like early Airbnb days where like people could even sleep on couches and all that sort of stuff. And so
$35 a night.
Yeah. 35 bucks.
Where
a
is
night.
this, in Seattle?
It's in Kirkland.
Kirkland.
Yeah, Kirkland is just outside of Seattle. It's a great little beach town. Everyone goes there. Like during summer, there's a bunch of beaches with docks. Everyone goes down there. Like it's a big party in the summer. Yeah, and it's also known for the Costco brand. Yeah, Kirkland. Yeah.
Kirkland Costco.
Yeah,
Big time.
yeah.
I'm a big fan of Seattle. Actually, I almost moved there. Fun fact, in 2015. This is actually when you started getting the Airbnb game, but almost transferred there. I had a transfer set up as an air traffic controller to go there. And I was actually flying up there. I was looking at places. The Seattle Center up there. So you got Seattle Approach, which is at SeaTac. And then the tower is also at SeaTac. But you have a Seattle Center, which is down in Auburn. And so I wanted to live, like I was looking at like Capitol Hill or Belltown and then just commuting. And I think it was about a 35-minute commute, no traffic-ish.
No traffic. Yeah, no traffic.
Yeah.
But it would have been rough.
And then I really wanted to come down to San Diego, but I couldn't transfer down here. So I was like, I'll go to Seattle. And so they gave me like a 2-year, it was like a 2-year time to transfer there. And then like right before the 2 years was up and I was going to go, San Diego picked me up and I came here instead. So I always think about that. I'm like, my life probably would have been completely different. I went up there. I don't know if I would have gotten into real estate investing. I don't know.
I don't know, man. You're a San Diego boy. Like, I don't know if you would have survived a year in Seattle. Like the winters are rough. The winters can be rough. Yeah. You got to get outside. You got to snowboard. You got to do something. Yeah. It's not like San Diego.
But, we got so I've had 2 NFL Seattle Seahawks players on. Cliff Averill I've had on, Golden Tate recently, and then Thatch Nagayan. He's like a big real estate influencer.
Yeah. He's on Bellevue.
He's coming on the podcast next Wednesday. He's gonna be in town.
Okay, great. Yeah, he's been doing great stuff. I watch his content. I haven't met him, but yeah, I recognize all the neighborhoods he's in. I'm like, I know exactly where that's at.
Yeah, he'll be here in the studio next Wednesday.
Awesome.
So excited to connect with him. He just randomly hit me up. He was like, "Hey, dude, I'm gonna be in San Diego." This is like 2 weeks ago. He's like, "I'm gonna be in San Diego hosting like a meetup on this day," and it just happened to be a Wednesday when we record. I'm like, "Dude, come on the pod." So it just aligned.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good. Anyways, we digressed a little bit. So you're 2015. You got the spare bedroom, and then what?
Yeah, so we had been doing that for a little while, and that basically taught us everything that we needed to know about running an Airbnb, right? And I was coming home on my lunch break. I was flipping it. My wife was flipping it. Like
doing the turns, cleaning.
Cleaning. Yeah.
Nice.
But we were so into it. Like we were so into it because
it's your own little business.
We felt like we figured it out. Right. And we just wanted to try to cover our mortgage. Right. And so we were doing that.
Just renting that one bed covered the mortgage.
Yeah. I would say it was about 90%.
That's pretty good
on average. But yeah. Some months were more.
That's your biggest living expense for most people is your rent.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't know the term at the time, but basically we were house hacking. It was the new form of house hacking. Most people just rent it out full time. We could have gotten like $500 or $600 a month, but then we'd have someone living with us and we didn't want that. We preferred having sort of temporary guests, right? And the funny thing is at that time, we only had one shower. We only had one full bath in the condo. So for a little while we had to like coordinate with the guest who was taking a shower or whatever. So then we actually quit our jobs in 2018, burned out. It was like, don't even have any headspace to think about what we want to do next. And so we were like, all right, we're gonna go live in our van and we're gonna go figure out what we want to do. And obviously, travel and do that whole thing. And that was during the, like, van life was like full.
What is it like living in a van?
It's not bad. So I'll say we had so many mechanical troubles during our trip. So we're a little bit like, I'm a little bit jaded on it.
You had like an older van or what? Kept breaking down?
So here's the thing. We actually bought a Toyota diesel van. It was from Japan.
Toyota's a great manufacturer.
A Toyota diesel should have lasted forever.
Mhm.
I was like, all right, because the Volkswagens are well known for like breaking down.
yeah.
And I was like, I don't want that.
And German parts are expensive.
Yeah, and you're stranded on the side of the road and all that sort of stuff. And so it wasn't supposed to happen. Right?
Yeah,
We weren't supposed to
Toyota's
break
like
down.
the most reliable manufacturer out there.
Yeah, and so this van, it was amazing. It was basically a mid-90s like 4Runner, but a van, and I decked it. I built the whole thing to sleep and store stuff.
In a 4Runner?
No. It basically it was on like the same platform as a 4Runner.
I was gonna say
yeah.
4Runner's pretty small, man.
Yeah, no. It was like the Volkswagens. It was that big.
That's not van life. That's SUV life.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
No, definitely wouldn't do that. The thing I hated the most was doing the dishes because you don't have hot water. And so it's really hard to clean dishes with hot water, but slept really well. We did get woken up by cops a few times. Like we slept in Walmart parking lots a bunch. They kicked us out a bunch. A lot of times you're driving late at night to get to the place where you want to go and you're looking,
Mhm.
it's a lot of searching for a spot.
How I'm curious. How come Walmart parking lots versus like finding like something maybe like closer to the beach or like something cool, like more like in nature?
Yeah, well, we did do a lot of the in nature stuff. Yeah, but if you're trying to get somewhere, a lot of times Walmart's the best option, and you might be rolling in
'Cause
late.
it's safe.
Yeah, it's safe. Yeah, there's lights, and they do have a rule. Most of them will let you stay for one night.
Really?
Right? Yeah. With the vans, they don't like the vans as much. Like if you have an RV and stuff, it's like better. But with the vans, they're like 50-50 on whether they want you to or will let you stay in the parking lot. But yeah, so then basically on the second day of the trip, we had just left Montana, which is where my wife's family's from. And I look at my wife and I'm like, all right, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And she's like, I want to own a bunch of real estate. I want to own Airbnbs. And I was like, cool, me too. So like we were going to take this whole trip to figure it out. And on like day 2, we were like, this is what we want to do.
Until you guys just turn around? Called them?
No, that was the night that the motor blew up.
Got it.
Yeah,
Oh,
the second
fuck.
day the motor blew up. And so we ended up lasting about 6 months, but it was sort of like the universe was telling us like, yeah, you need to go back. You need to go do this.
So you spent 6 months talking about the game plan and like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it type of thing or what?
We didn't even spend that much time, like not that much time talking about it. We were, but it wasn't like 6 months of planning or whatever. And so what ended up happening is we got back to Seattle and
Were you guys listening to like podcasts and all that when you're driving?
yeah,
About it,
yeah,
reading a little bit?
bigger podcasts, bigger pockets.
I feel like when you're new into real estate investing, and I did the same thing, you go into like this big education phase where you're like, oh my gosh, all this new information, you're trying to digest it all. It's fun. And the Bigger Pockets podcast is great because there's hundreds of episodes and you get to hear all these other people and their personal journeys, starting from, a lot of them started from corporate jobs as well. And so it's inspiring. And I went down that rabbit hole and that's kind of how I got started. I was binge listening to the podcast. And it makes you like, for me, I was in a circle of friends that weren't investing in real estate, but by listening to this podcast every single day, although I didn't know these people personally, I felt like I knew them and it was inspiring. And then it makes you believe like, oh, I could do this too.
Yeah, and something that even like when I was a corporate and I was like, because I would go up to directors and executives and like I would just talk to them and I would go meet with them because like I learned that like people are just people, right? And so you can't be scared of it. And so like same thing, like consuming all this information. And so like for our first purchase, it was out in Cleveland, which a lot of people are like, why Cleveland, right? But we did a ton of research.
Ohio City?
Near Ohio City. It's actually in Gordon Square, which is just short distance from Ohio City. And there's a bunch
Tremont over there too.
Yeah. Tremont was a little expensive and it still is at the time, Ohio City, but we found, my wife toured like 25 properties when she went
Nice.
out there.
It's a great STR market. The only reason I know this is because one of my old partners, Mike Ty,
Okay.
he's from Cleveland and he's got a couple short-term rentals out there that crank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 5 years now since we've launched it and it generates a ton of cash flow. It's easy to run.
What kind of property is it?
It's a 3-3. It's got a garage in back. It was built, well, they say it was built in 1900, but we found out that if they don't know when it was built,
They
like,
just say 1900.
They just say 1900.
Okay.
Yeah. So we've got great neighbors. It's in like a really family friendly neighborhood, and it's right near the strip where all the shops and restaurants and bars and stuff are. But it's still super quiet. But yeah, it does really well. We did it up like the thing that I love about Airbnb, and one of the reasons that we started is like we love creating core memories for people, families, friends. My wife does all the interior design. You know, I used to love doing all the construction and project management, all that stuff. And so it was and then real estate. And so it was like a blend of all of our skill sets and the things that we really enjoyed. And we got that launched in like 3 weeks.
Damn. So
Yeah.
give us an idea. I'm curious myself too. So like, what did you guys buy that property for? Because I know you can buy real estate out in Cleveland very very cheap.
Yep.
And then what does that thing bring in gross per year?
Yeah. So we bought it for 277, and it does anywhere from 75 to 90.
That's great.
And that's through COVID and everything too. Yeah. So it cash flows really well.
So if you think about it, like I always throw out like the 20% rule just to do like quick back of the napkin math for short-term rentals. And for listeners out there that are wondering what that 20% rule is, basically whatever the purchase price is, plus your furnishing, you typically want to have a projected gross revenue of at least 20% of that number or more. And if it meets that, then this thing has a good chance to do pretty good as a short-term rental. It's something that you should probably take a deeper look at. And if it falls way short, it's probably likely not going to cash flow. But that said, this example, you're closer to 30%.
Yeah. Yeah. We've done really well on all of our properties in that way. And we had AirDNA data, but if we would have just relied on that data, we never would have bought anything. And so part of it was having to trust ourselves. And so, yeah, we believe that we could generate, and at the time we were like, oh, even if we only make this much, whatever. And so like blew those expectations out of the water.
That's good.
Yeah. And
That's great. And so then that was the first one
yeah.
outside of the bedroom. And that gave you the confidence to go out and buy the second one. So how were you funding these deals early on?
Yeah, so we self-funded everything. Not like we got mortgages, right? And we've done a mix of conventional DSCR through a bunch of different lenders, depending on who was willing to work with us, And so the first three we used our HELOC. So before we left in the van, I was like, we're not gonna have jobs. Maybe we should pull out some equity. And so I got a HELOC on the condo, and we use that to buy 3
Damn.
properties. Yeah, down payments, and then we, use cash to do the furnishings and renovations.
So you use the real estate to buy you more real estate, which is a powerful thing, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've done a couple cash out refis, but nothing crazy, right? Because we still want to cash flow. And so, if you know about the infinite return, like we've got infinite return on a few of them, where we pulled all of our initial investment out.
Yeah, I think that's a good point that a lot of people don't allude to, especially people that talk about the stock market. And there's a lot of folks out there, and there's no right or wrong. I think stock market's right for a lot of folks, but the folks that poo-poo real estate investing and they're like, oh, it's all about the S&P 500. I'm like, yeah, it's great, but like, where in the stock market can you earn an infinite return on investment? I don't know anywhere. And in real estate, you can do that. And then not only can you earn that infinite return on investment when you refi your proceeds out, and what Kassidy means by this is, if you buy a deal and let's just say that you put, 20% down, let's just say for simple math, you buy a $500,000 deal, you put in $100,000 as your down payment, this thing goes up in value over the next 2, 3, 4 years, and you're able to refinance, pull your money back out. Let's just say you refinance, you pull $100,000 out. Now you got no money left in that deal. And now any cash flow or further appreciation down the road, you're actually getting an infinite return on investment because you have no money in that deal. And you can take that money and then roll that into another deal, which I like to call the refi and roll strategy, refi and roll. And it's a powerful tool.
And that refi is tax-free.
The refi is tax-free.
Yeah,
and
you don't pay taxes on it.
Yeah, tax deferred. And it's powerful. So now the refi proceeds are tax deferred. You don't have to pay taxes on it. You can roll that into another deal. And if you really want to be creative, and this is kind of what we're doing in the hotel space, is you can buy a value add property that's underperforming at a discount. And then through your renovation plan and through good marketing and good management, you can force a lot of appreciation. So for example, you could buy a property for 1.5 and then turn it into a $3 million property 12 months later through your plan. And now you refi the higher valuation, and it's a quicker way to do it. Pull that money back out. Now you have no money left in that deal, and then refi and roll that into another deal. It's a powerful thing versus waiting for the long-term appreciation and inflation to do its thing, which, I think if you're buying a deal today, I think the real estate market's going to continue to soften for a little bit before it improves. So I wouldn't bank on that strategy today where, buying stuff in 2015, the economy was ripping, you could refi probably in 2017, 2018 and pull your money out.
Yeah, we did a lot of transactions in the last 5 years. Yeah, both purchases and refis, just because even the interest rates just kept dropping and it still made sense for us to pull or at least refi the
Yeah,
mortgage.
absolutely.
Yeah, so
And I think that's the biggest change in this market cycle that we're in is, from 20, let's call it 2011 to basically 2021, that 10-year span, every 2 years you could refi. Most likely, in most markets, your asset's going to be worth more than it was the year before. So people had the option, homeowners and consumers had the option to pull out refi proceeds to pay off credit card debt, to roll that into home improvements, to roll that into more real estate, or to buy vehicles and luxuries, right? And now people don't have the option to do that, right? And so I think that's the biggest difference right now. And so you're seeing credit cards go up. You're seeing people spend less money on the luxuries and that sort of thing. So, things are tightening right now because of the high interest rate environment, which is slowing things down. Now, it's important to remember, and I'll throw this out there because I think it's important to remember, most folks think, oh, the real estate market's slowing down, not a good time to buy. Keep in mind, the fundamentals are still really good. There is a huge shortage of supply out there. And because of the shifting demographics right now, the demand is only going to increase. And this shortage of supply in the gap is only going to further increase because builders aren't building right now, because of the rate environment. So keep in mind, this environment that we're in is not an organic slowdown. This is a slowdown caused by the federal government, and the Federal Reserve. And it's because they're pumping rates up right now. And so just keep in mind, this is temporary. And like most things in life, pain is temporary, so is success, and so are interest rates. Keep that
yeah,
in mind.
couldn't have said it better. Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's so much pent up demand out there that
Yes.
like it's still a good time to buy. The interest rate is just another line item on the, expense report and treat it like that. Don't bank on a refi and don't bank on the appreciation. Buy a good deal, right? Run your numbers. Don't don't guess, but also don't get analysis paralysis, right? So if you're just starting out, don't be scared. Get around good people and go out and buy your first deal. Make sure it's a good one. Your money's made on the purchase, right? And then with the renovations, and that was always our strategy, right? I'm seeing, so we would do, as we went on, we did more and more renovations, and a lot of that was, well, we need to make this worth it, even as a flip, right? So we don't want to put so much into it because that's where I see some people getting into trouble with Airbnbs. Is let's say they're buying a $400,000 house and maybe they're putting 100 to 200K into it to cash flow, right? Because a lot of the stuff that you're seeing now, people are going crazier and crazier with all their designs and amenities, which is great. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. You almost have to do that to guarantee some sort of cash
To
flow.
cash flow, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And so we've been doing the same thing, but we've been focused on doing the right thing so that we also get the value out at the end. We know that basically we're doing a luxury flip on a lot of these with the focus on Airbnb.
Like if you turn something into some Mario Kart theme, dude, the resale value is going to go down. People don't want them.
That's what I mean. And so
Yeah.
there's even people out there raising money for these deals. And I saw one recently and I asked them, you're raising, $300,000 to $400,000 on this and the comps don't support your ARV.
Ooh.
And so I don't know
And
how
is
you're
it a
gonna get your—
hotel or this is
No,
a
this is an
short-term rental?
Airbnb, yeah, and so there's people out there raising money,
Yeah.
to go buy these short-term rentals, but if you buy let's say you buy a house, it's $400,000 and you're making 500 grand net income, you kill it, right? No one's doing that, but you're making crazy cash flow on this thing, but you bought a $400,000 house and it's in a $400,000 neighborhood, that property is only gonna be worth $400,000
Mhm.
after, even with whatever money you put into it, and so
Yep.
you're gonna be
It's
a
a
lot of—
second cost.
yeah, and then you're gonna be underwater day one from when you launch that Airbnb. Now, if you're cash flowing like crazy, it's not as big of a deal, but, you're only ever gonna be able to sell it for what it's worth in the market, and that is, one of the main reasons why I was like, "All right, I need to shift to hotels," is the forced appreciation because they are valued at, net operating income and market conditions, cap rate, right? And if you can improve operations and do renovations and increase occupancy and ADR on hotels, you've now doubled, tripled, or whatever the value of that asset based on the income that you generated and not because the value of the neighborhood went up, right?
If you love real estate investing, passive income, and tax benefits, but don't have the time, my company, Summers Capital, is buying boutique hotels right now. We source the deals, we renovate the properties, and we even handle all the day-to-day management, making it truly hands-off for our investors. If you want to learn more to see if we can help you, visit summerscapital.com/invest to book a call with our team. Again, that's summerscapital.com/invest. Now back to the show. It's so good, dude. It's so good. And I see this all the time. And I think this is like one of the things that most people got to realize when they get in the short-term rental game. So you buy a nice property and, let's say you want to do a good job with the design so you can cash flow. You're going to sink 100 grand into the design. Well, this means that the first 100 grand of cash flow is just to break even. You're not even making a profit yet. And so you got to think about those things where, the hotel, you do a whole new redesign with new furnishing and you do some CapEx to improve the design element. You're actually adding value to the property. You're forcing your appreciation. And now you take the income from, $200,000 to $600,000. Well, you're likely going to 2 to 3x the value of the property because the NOI is going to go up so much. And that's what we're talking about right there by forcing your appreciation. It gives you more control over the valuation of the property, even in a time of, volatility and high interest rates.
Yeah, because you're proving out that you're making money on the asset, right? And then it's commercial, so that's just how it's valued. And then other market conditions, location and size and all that matter, but like the NOI is really a key factor in doing
I also
that.
love what you said. You said like, you make your money when you buy. And I agree with that. I'll throw a little caveat there. I think you establish your baseline profit when you buy below market. And then you also make your money when you operate and sell, And so I think it's important. I think, in 2015, 17, 19, you could buy deals turnkey and let the inflation do its thing and the organic appreciation. But in today's cycle and in this environment that we're in, I believe that the economy is going to continue to slow down before it improves. And so for me to buy a deal right now, I need to buy it below market. I need to buy it at a discount, and I need to be able to add value. Otherwise, I'm like, where are we going to produce a return? You're not going to bank on cash flow with the high interest rate environment right now.
I mean, that's the model, right? And
Yeah.
that's the model that I've followed on all the short-term rentals is like, do the operational improvements, do the renovations, and like the valuation after is going to be there, right? And that's what I'm saying is I'm worried about some of these people that are putting so much into the property just to cash flow, but the valuation's not going to be there, and it's going to be hard come time when they go to sell or exit. So, or if the market softens too much and they're not cash flowing anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. So, congrats, by the way. You closed on your first boutique hotel, 24 units up in Solvang with a few of the other folks in the mastermind. Anthony, Gideon, Alex, and Neil was a part of that. Tell me a little bit about that one because I know you guys closed and it's unique. You guys are going to do a renovation. However, you guys elected to continue to operate during the summer season and not start your reno till the fall, correct?
Yeah, correct. So the other interesting point about the difference between Airbnbs and hotels is when we closed on Solvang, we were making money day one,
Ooh,
right?
yes.
With Airbnbs, it could take, I mean, we did 3 weeks on our first one, but it takes months, right? And we all know that it could take more than a few months.
Yeah, it could take, with my Scottsdale property, we did a renovation and a design furnishing. It literally took 5 or 6 months before we were bringing in money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so on Solvang, we were making money day one because it was an operating business at the time.
Got reservations on the books when you buy it.
Yeah, and so let's talk about the operational improvements a little bit. This is something that is so important that's overlooked, and you don't really know it until you do your due diligence and you find out some things. But we found out that they were not taking bookings after 5 p.m. So if you went to go book the hotel at 5:01, you couldn't book the hotel, right? So that was something that was left over from the previous owner. There's no self check-in. The photos, the marketing, the description, I don't think they were on Expedia, right? And so these are just things that we can implement right away. And the or the property manager that we brought in, thanks to Neil, has been absolutely incredible. They do everything, right? But yeah, it's an amazing piece of property. And so the plan is, so day one, in service, making money, and bringing in guests, trying to increase occupancy, and the numbers are looking really good. Like they're looking close to what we expect after reno.
Post stabilization.
Post stabilization, we're close to getting there.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's pretty incredible. That's just the operations side.
That's great.
We haven't done any renovations or any upgrades or anything. So we're going to run it through summer, and we're in the process of picking a designer. We have a couple contractors that we're talking with, and this is, credit to Gideon, Anthony, Alex, and Neil on all this stuff too, right? For all the work that they're doing. But we have to decide a date that we're going to shut it down because Christmas is kind of big there, so we might run it through Christmas, and then in January shut it down, do all the renos. There's going to be a huge outdoor upgrade because the grounds there are incredible. There are tons of outdoor space all throughout the property. There's 2 buildings, and so there's separate grounds on the front building and separate grounds on the back building. And so we're gonna set it up so you can actually use it. You can hang out there. There's gonna be fire pits, like upgrade, and then we're gonna renovate all the rooms and bathrooms, and it's gonna be like a
I love that.
brand new hotel when it's done.
Question for you. So you mentioned that you guys are going to continue to operate through the end of the year. With the current debt that you guys have, is it bridge, or did you guys have some sort of long-term debt on it?
Yeah, it's a 3-year bridge, interest only, I believe. I think it's only at like 9%.
And so even with the bridge, you're able to cash flow.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, we were super conservative
Okay.
on underwriting this deal. I think Gideon and Alex and everyone underwrote it like 100 different times to
Yeah.
to make
Well,
sure.
and that's one of the things we do in our group is like, underwrite conservatively and make your decisions based on the conservative numbers. And that's how you should raise capital too. I want all my investors, and this is what we teach, is like, you want your investors to make the decisions to invest or not invest based on the conservative numbers. And the idea is you want to, over exceed.
Yeah,
Under promise, over exceed.
under promise, over deliver. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what Solvang will be, right? And we're already sort of proving that out. And so yeah, I'm super excited about what we're gonna do. But yeah, so it was interesting. We have like four different types of financing on this one. So this is the other thing I love about hotels is you can do more creative financing, right? And now seller financing and sub 2 in residential is getting more popular because of the rate environment. But there's a duplex on the property that we have to get rezoned to allow it to do short term.
STR, yeah.
Yeah. But it's rented out right now. But that has seller financing and sub 2 on it. And then the hotel has seller financing and then the bridge debt. So there's 4 different pieces of debt on the property. But we made the deal happen, right?
Yeah,
And
you guys made it work.
yeah, you can't just saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go get an SBA loan and I'm gonna make this happen." Like, in my opinion, it's better to do the seller financing piece. I think we ended up doing like a 10% down in total or something, but which is better too. So, got to get the full 20, 30, 40% if you're going an SBA route or other lending options. So
That's great news that you guys got in and the income has been higher than anticipated. I think that's always a good sign because you never know, especially with these boutique hotels that are like mom and pop ran, you never really know until you get in there and go. Obviously, you can do your due diligence. You can go look at the comps. You can walk a lot of the surrounding properties and you have a really good idea and you're confident, but you never really know until you get in there because a lot of these mom and pops are not utilizing these OTAs. Their marketing's not the best. And until you get in there and turn on all the OTAs, which is free to implement, by the way, you never really know what they can do. And it's scary going in because a couple of deals we bought, the occupancy is really, really low. The last one that we got in Sonoma Coast, like when I went to visit that property on a Monday, there was 1 car in the parking lot out of 44 units. I'm like, that's kind of scary. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But, you go around and see the other hotels on that same Monday and they're driving high occupancy, but you never know until you get in there and do it. And then you do it. Like, oh, okay. Like we're able to sell out all of our rooms while we're doing construction. So it's kind of cool.
that's right. Yeah, when I went out there and went out with Neil,
Solvang.
Yeah, to Solvang. I went out with Neil and the property manager, and it was in like March, I think. And it was warm, gorgeous day. There was a ton of people in town. We toured a bunch of other properties. There's actually a flagged Hilton there now. So
Is it really?
Yeah. So last
Interesting.
year they bought and then flagged the Hilton, and they did some nice updates. And so the fact that there's a Hilton in town and it was packed, like,
Yeah.
because there's this like fire pit area and like cornhole and stuff. And so like there was a ton of people out.
It's a good indication that the market is growing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that hotel was at 43% occupancy.
The one you bought?
Yeah,
Okay.
Solvang. And so the market, based on the CoStar reports, were at like 72 to 78%, depending on the level of the asset. So that was really like,
Telling that it was underperforming.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the hotel itself is incredible, right?
Is that an exit strategy for you to go flagged?
I think it's definitely one of the things that we will look at when we go to exit.
Consider?
Yeah, 100%.
No, but not right away. Not after you do the renovation.
No, I mean, basically, if we can get to our valuation, and obviously
Keeping
everything
it
will change.
boutique, then you'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. But if we can get a good offer and we can be good to our investor money, Like, why wouldn't we do that? You know? And then I know that the flags are doing these boutique brands, like I think it's Hilton Tapestry or
They
something,
are, yeah.
where you basically keep everything the way you have it. You don't have to adhere to their design standards, but you get the flag and you get all their points, rewards members that can come in and book with you. They get a cut, but there's also that option if we ever, I'm not saying we've discussed that, but like, yeah, but yeah, that's definitely an exit. We've got a refi planned at year 3 to get out of the bridge debt.
And I think in year 3, the rate environment will probably be more conducive than it is today to have a nice refi, hit up your investors nicely and hold this thing. But the plan is to hold it long term.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What do you guys underwrite for? I forgot. Is it 5 years, 7 years, or
It
10?
it was a 10-year.
10-year, okay.
Yeah, but again, conservative. I think if I'm gonna predict, I would say year 6, that feels good for hitting the valuation, but, you never know. So it is a 10-year hold, but we were very upfront, like, if we hit our valuation early, we're gonna try to return everyone's money
I love that,
sooner,
dude.
yeah.
I also love that market is, it has tighter short-term rental regulations, and that's one of the things that I love about investing in California. In terms of boutique hotels, is you got a lot of tight regs here, and so unlike traditional multifamily or traditional long-term investing, a lot of folks like to go to, landlord-friendly states like Texas, like Florida, um, like Scottsdale, Arizona. But the opposite is true for us. We like to go in areas that maybe are a little bit more tenant friendly because those areas tend to have more bureaucracy, more red tape. And with that comes tight short term rental regulations, meaning we as hotel operators, we don't need to compete with a bunch of Airbnbs, but also markets that have tightening short term rental regulations that's going to bring more demand over to boutique hotels, which is ultimately what's going to drive our valuations.
That's right, yeah, and so if we can sort of Airbnbify, these boutique
Oh, that's a good
hotels,
one. Yeah.
yeah, and, like, make them and give the same experience that you might get in Airbnb, the good side of that experience, self check-in, better design, better amenities, right? If you can do that, then you're gonna perform really well.
So with Solvang being only 24 units, do you guys currently have a front desk?
There is currently a front desk, yeah, and so what we're doing there is
Part time or full time, like
I think it's
around the clock?
I think it's part-time.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and so what we're doing, she's still on staff, and that's the plan. She's been really great. The maintenance, person has been really great to work with. He's been real happy. But what we are doing is, this is in the plan. There is the unit or there's the space that she's in right now. There's another space that was previously used as like a massage room or spa type thing, and it's a little bit smaller, but it's still got enough space. And so the plan is to convert the larger space into an extra unit, and then have the front desk. It's just like right across the hall basically. And so then what that'll do, again, going back to increasing the value of the property through net operating income, is we're going to add a 25th unit, and that's going to add another, let's say, 50K to the bottom line, and we've just increased the value of the property another, I don't know, 100, 200K, 300K.
Yeah,
Yeah.
easily.
Mhm.
Well, let's do the math there. So, I mean, if you bring another unit that just increases the NOI by $50,000, and let's just say cap rate for that market is 8%, you just increase the value by
See, I was off
$625,000.
by double. Yeah,
Yeah.
600 grand.
But that is really the true value of commercial real estate and why boutique hotels over short term rentals. So let's just say like what we've done with some of our smaller hotels is we'll take the manager's unit and bring that online. Typically, it's the nicest unit on the property. So with Bodega's set up really nicely to do the self check and self checkout because like the parking lot wraps around. There's like 6 buildings, and the parking lot wraps around each of those buildings, and so it's easy for the guests to park and then access their unit directly. They don't have to go through a lobby.
I love those setups too, with the separate buildings where there's 3 or 4 units maybe. Yeah, I think that's a really good setup.
And so with that property, it's a 2-bedroom unit that the manager was living in, and this is like it's got a full kitchen, full living room, like it's the nicest unit on the property. That unit will probably bring in an extra $75,000 throughout the year, which is really good. That's conservatively, and then the manager is being paid about 60K. So let's just say of the 75,000, let's just say 50K is going to drop to the bottom line, and then the 60K of having the on-site manager on payroll, that's going to drop to the bottom line as well, which is 110,000 total NOI growth. And if you divide that by a 8% cap rate, which is a little bit lower in Sonoma Coast, but let's just say 8% conservatively, that increases the value of the property by 1.375 million. Just that simple move. And so think about that. Like, where are you going to get that kind of forced appreciation in the short term rental game? You're not, you know?
Yeah, and the other thing is you didn't really increase your expenses by doing that.
No,
Yeah, you're not add it's not like adding a new house or a new structure. You've already got the housekeeping staff, you've already got the maintenance staff, you gotta buy some linens, obviously you gotta design it, but you didn't increase your monthly operating expenses hardly at all by converting that to new units, right?
no, not at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
And it will cost us, $50,000 to renovate that unit and furnish it. Let's just call it 60. But let's just say $60,000 to furnish and renovate that unit divided by the 1.375 million that we're going to increase the value. Let's see, 1375 divided by 60,000. That's a 22x ROI. Where are you going to get a 22x ROI in the? You're not going to find that in the stock market. That's for sure. So think about that. So curious, man. You were working with Jackson as well. I know on one of our calls recently, you guys were looking at a larger deal. I believe it was like around 60 units up in Western Washington, right on the beach. Tell me about that. How is that coming to fruition?
So, I love that property. It's the direction that I wanna go with the type of hotels that I wanna own. It is right on the coast. It's got a river running through the property. It's those separate buildings with, like, 3 units, or I think it's got 6 units per building. It's
Really
54.
good looking asset.
Yeah, and it's the classic coastal, and actually it's got some cool design elements, but the cedar shake shingles on the side of the building,
It's
it's in
sexy. Large units,
yeah,
two-story units.
yeah, it's great for families.
Yeah.
It's got, a pool heated pool, hot tub, and sauna.
Just too many unknowns.
A lot of unknowns, and
Yeah.
so and the Washington coastal market is different than, like, the Oregon coast market, and so in Washington, the primary vacation markets are the islands, Leavenworth, Cle Elum, and then, like, Hood Canal, and and then the coast sorta comes in somewhere at the bottom of there. Not but part of it is, like, it's because it hasn't been given a facelift, or there's not these great properties out there, but so what we did is we looked at it, we underwrote it, and went back working with Jackson, and we kept underwriting it, and was like, they wanted like 10, and we could only really make it work at under 5, And so they're like, no, there's no way. And so what I'm hoping is they go through summer and they make a little bit more money, and then they come back in the slow season. And yeah, so the other thing that we're looking at is, okay, is there potential to sell off a portion of the units? Because the occupancy isn't very high over there. So you could maybe sell off a portion of the units as managed condos. And so we're sort of looking at that as an option, but nothing further than just after we submitted
Yeah,
the
I
FI.
agree with you. I think a lot of unknowns. I think for me, looking at that deal, the biggest unknown for me, the biggest risk was there's no comps that justify the sale price that you guys would need to get in there and purchase it at a price that the seller wants, and then to do your renovation plan, have enough money for that, and then have an exit to produce the return profile that your investors need. There was no comps in there that justify that, and so I always say like, one of the biggest factors of buying a hotel is, yeah, like the ARV is great, but you got to make sure that there's someone else has already done this before. You don't want to be the first person in any market to be the pioneer and be like, hey, we're gonna set the record for sale price in any market, and that's true for any asset class, not just boutique hotels, but multifamily, self storage, any asset class. You don't want to be the first to pioneer it. That's one thing I learned by my mentor Tony Azar, and they're in North Carolina. They've bought and sold 8,000 apartment units. They've been in the game for a while. The dude's got 2 private jets. No one knows who he is. He flies under the radar, not on social media. Good dude. But anyways, this guy taught me, he's like, dude, you never want to be the pioneer with exit price. And you never want to be the pioneer with like your rent assumption, pro stabilization. And same thing with like hotels, like the revenue that we're going to get, the ADR and RevPAR. Whenever you look at the comp set, you never want to be number one in the comp set. You want to be like, kind of in the middle for underwriting. That's if you play under those rules and you increase your exit cap rate. He also taught me that, like what we teach in this hotel mastermind, like be conservative with the exit cap. Like I learned all that from him. But like if you play by those rules all the time, you're always gonna win.
Yeah, there's no reason to try to make it work, especially if you're raising money. Like, there's no reason to adjust the numbers because you're emotionally invested, or there's no reason to do it because if you're taking investor money to go do it, you got to be so sure that it's going to be at least a double, triple, if not a home run, right? And you do that through the underwriting. And these LOIs that you submit, that's something that you've taught and I've learned too, just, negotiating and investing in real estate is like the sale price doesn't really mean anything. It does, but it doesn't really mean anything. Go offer what you're willing to pay for it, right? There's no harm in doing that. And so what we're willing to pay is based on the conservative underwriting that you're talking about. And there's no reason to get emotionally attached to that deal if it's not going to work.
Yeah, 100%, man, because there's always other deals out there. And like you said, you're being a custodian of investor capital now. And those types of deals, like you have to be even more conservative. There's a saying like buy a deal to where you would put your grandmother's last $100. Those are the types of deals you should buy, or maybe it's $100,000. But and I want to sleep good at night. That's a
Yeah.
big thing. Like, I wanna sleep good at night knowing I am being a good custodian of other people's money. Now, if it's my own money, I can do riskier stuff and roll the dice on stuff and do, be a little bit more, like, out there. Like Scottsdale. The Scottsdale property, we got a little weird with the design element, like, I wouldn't do that with investor money, but, like, with my own deal, like, I can do that kinda stuff, and so, but with investor money, it's like you gotta really stick to your buy box. And if you do, you're going to win. And exit cap rate's another big one, especially right now. It's crazy. You're seeing a lot of operators in the multifamily side get caught with their pants down right now because they were really aggressive with their exit cap rate assumption. And cap rates were really, really low back in 2021, really low, especially for multifamily. And a lot of these buyers that were being awarded these competitive deals back in the multifamily space were underwriting for like a very, very low exit cap rate. So they were increasing their exit cap rate by 0.05,
Oh
so 5
no.
basis points per year they hold the asset. So just for example, if they did a 5-year hold on an apartment deal, they would increase the exit cap rate by 0.25, a quarter, basically 25 basis points. And look what has happened. The interest rates have more than doubled, and cap rates will always follow interest rates. And so now cap rates in the apartment space likely, like let's just say you're in a 4 cap market, they're likely that's going to become a 6 cap market. And so now you only increase your exit cap rate by 0.25, and now the cap rate's going up by 200 basis points. Well, do you know what that does to your valuation? Like that's why people are getting caught with their pants down right now. And so, I think what we're doing is where I'm like saying, hey, rates have more than doubled. And so we should be underwriting to at least 1.5 to 200 basis points exit cap rate, at least, to be conservative.
Yeah. Again, there's no reason not to do it that way. And then if, like you said, if you can make the deal work under those conditions, then you're gonna be just fine.
Yeah, and that's probably worst case scenario. And then
Yeah.
you know what? Like in 4 or 5 years, market conditions improve and cap rates go back down, then like that's a huge win. But you should always make your decision based on the conservative numbers. And that's just the name of the game, man. Like I tell our investors, like, hey, when we launched this fund a year ago, we did a 10-year time horizon because I didn't know where the economy was gonna go in the next 2 to 3 years. We're in a high interest rate environment, a lot of volatility. But one thing I do know is we're buying these deals at a discount. We're buying them in great locations. We're very confident with our ability to renovate these properties and stabilize them and increase the value. However, I don't know where the market's going to go in the next 2 to 3 years, but I do know if we have a 10-year time horizon, there will be an opportune time in that 10-year time horizon for us to have a nice exit, regardless of what the economy does in the next 3 years. And that's why I justified. I said, however, the goal is to do this early. So if we can have that, if we can meet our 10-year projection early, like let's say you're 6, 7, or 8, we will look to exit early. I just want you to know that this is a 10-year projected hold period and your money could potentially be tethered for 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
That's the same conversation that we have with our investors too. Yeah, same conversation. We plan on early, but we don't know what the next 3 years is going to look like for the market conditions. But so expect it to be held for 10 years, but the plan is to be early. So, and that's the other benefit of being in the mastermind is bringing these deals to the table and in the calls and poking holes and going over all this stuff and going through the underwriting, like, and not getting analysis paralysis, but like having other people with a different perspective or that are good at something that can poke holes and look at your assumptions and make you think about things a little bit differently and all that. So, I mean, it's invaluable. So when you like when somebody in the group goes to put in an LOI, like they've got the whole group behind them, basically giving them the confidence that they are going to be able to go do this, right? And that's legitimate, right? It's not because when I joined,
Mhm.
I talked to you in November of last year.
You were on a couple webinars.
I
Yeah, you were
was.
providing value in the chat room. The girls on the team were like, "Damn, who's this Kassidy guy?
That's right.
He's like in the chat. He's like blowing up the chat room and
Yeah.
providing a lot of value."
I like answering questions, man, and, yeah, there was a lot of good questions in there, and, I feel like maybe I knew what I was talking about a little bit, but, yeah, so I talked to you guys in November, and it was like, "Oh, I definitely wanna buy hotels, like, I'm in, but, maybe, I need to get this project finished, our last Airbnb, and, I'll talk to you in, like, April."
Yeah.
And then I was like, "But I'm still gonna go look at hotels, I'm gonna figure out how to buy one," right? And then, I think it was, February when you posted, that you were closing on or you came to a point with Dega where, like, it was a go,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Ah, shit, man. It's been how many months? I haven't gotten off the starting line. He's closing on another hotel. This is what, number 4 in the portfolio." I was like, "I gotta get in. I gotta get in." And I joined, went to the Cabo retreat, and then bought Solvang all within, like, 5 weeks.
Dude, that's
Dude,
crazy, man.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it happened. I opened up, I committed, I said, "I'm doing it," and, like, the universe sort of returned the favor for me, so, yeah, and again, credit to you and everyone in the group.
It's been such a great group, man. And by the way, if you're out there listening to this and you're like, you have any remote interest in buying a boutique hotel, or maybe you're doing short-term rentals and you're like, I just want to see what this hotel game's all about. We have a really cool thing going with our community. You can go to summerscapital.com/mastermind to book a free call with our team. And a lot of the success of the group is because of people like you. It's a lot of action takers, and it's people that are serious and committed. And I'm like, dude, I only want people in the group that are like committed and serious, because that's really what keeps the level, the caliber high. And yeah, it's been incredible to see. So I'm excited to see what you do next, and with a lot of the other folks in our group. I'm like, man, I see it as opportunity. I'm speculating. I'm always willing to be wrong, but I believe that with all the tightening short-term rental regulations out there, with all the Airbnb investors out there. I mean, shoot, you don't even have to own a property to do the Airbnb game right now. But I feel like, in the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be the next big thing. I think that all these Airbnb investors are going to realize that at some point they're going to get in the game. And, that's why I'm like, we're going all in right now.
100%. I think it's just like the boom of Airbnb 2018 to 21, it's gonna be like that for boutique hotels, and I'm, like, heads down, all in, like, ready to submit LOIs, like, yeah.
Why do you think not more people are talking about it? Like, there's not really like any other masterminds that I know of. But I know Blake Daly has one.
I think
Um,
Dia has one.
Dia has one, but like I know some people in those, like especially in Dia's, and like it's not like ours. So and there's no books out there on boutique hotel investing. So I'm like,
You gonna write one?
I haven't really thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh.
haven't really thought about it. If I did a book, I don't think it would be on boutique hotel
Yeah, yeah,
investing.
yeah.
I think it would be more about my transition out of like being a 11-year air traffic controller, and then like this whole new life that I've discovered. I think it would be more about that, because I think that could touch a lot more people than boutique hotel
Yeah.
investing.
I
You know
thought
what I
of
mean?
I thought of a title for, 'cause, I'm not where you're at, but similar, left the corporate world, 40 hours to 40 million.
Oh, that's good.
That's a good one. I mean, I don't have
40
40
hours
I
to
don't
40 million.
I don't have 40 million, but to answer your question about why more people, I think I could tell my reason why is what I realized ultimately was the fear of having to go out and raise money. And, I've always been frugal, like, avoided debt, like bad debt, right? Until real estate, like work a job, work hard, don't ask for favors, like just get it done, like that sort of mentality. And so to feel like I have to go out and ask people for money was like a very uncomfortable, fearful feeling. And then I'm putting myself out there and I'm saying I'm doing this, right? And so then I have to, right? I'm like committed, right? And so then if I don't do it, it's like a fear of failure, but it's a fear of asking for money. And so that was for me, I think one of the big things. And then that sort of all went away once the Solvang deal came up, because I believed in it so much. Right. And then I think it's such a bigger thing, or feels bigger on your own. I think it's more straightforward to understand how to buy a house and renovate a house. And also I think it's almost sexier in a way for people, or it fulfills them in a way of like, "Oh, I get to design this thing, I get to renovate it, it's my dream to do this," right? So I think there's that piece of it with like Airbnbs or other like that type of real estate. And I don't think as many people have gotten to the place where I'm at, where I did 9 and I gave all my time, all my energy, all my money, and I'm like, this formula doesn't work for me anymore, right? I'll probably do other deals in the future, but there's got to be a different formula. And so I don't think people have realized it yet is a big one. So
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people wanna do it. They just, like you said, it's like the fear of raising money, the fear of the unknown, putting together these larger deals. It's a lot more to wrap your head around, and the dollar signs are bigger too, right? And so there's more that could go wrong, but there's also a lot more upside. But, now you did your first deal in the commercial side, and I mean, they call it the law of the first deal, once you do that first commercial deal, and it's like the second one almost is harder not to do than it is to do.
oh, I'm ready for the next one, man. I want another one before the end of the year, that's for sure. Yeah. And right after we closed on Solvang, I think it was actually the day before we closed on Solvang, the broker reached out and they had 4 other properties in Solvang that we just went and toured because we had proved out that we could sell, or not sell, but that we could buy. And so then everyone in town was like, okay, do you want to come buy my hotel? And so and you've told stories like that too. And that's a real thing, right? And so getting your first deal is a really big deal. But what I'll say to other Airbnb hosts and investors like me that are out there that are struggling with maintenance issues, operations issues, housekeepers not showing up, not doing the job, guests that are complaining about everything. Maybe your PM isn't doing the work that they're supposed to be doing.
Mhm.
You're dealing with hot tub issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, though a lot of that stuff goes away. Your time and energy is more valuable and becomes more valuable working on these types of deals. And that other stuff is handled by professionals and people that are willing to take it off your plate. And the language is the same. The language and the principles of investing in Airbnbs or even other real estate, it's the same as coming across to boutique hotels. There's some stuff, you know, and you need the community. Like I've benefited greatly from being in this community, but like it's not as scary as it seems, right? So I want other people to get into it. Yeah, I'm watching people that are still scaling the Airbnbs and I see the frustrations that they go through and I've felt it myself and I can't stop them from doing it, right? But it feels better over here.
Dude, but it's all about the progression. Like, I remember my first, syndication in the apartment space, it was a big deal. I was like, "Holy cow," like, $4 million raise, and, had, co-sponsors, like, my mentor actually, co-sponsored, a deal. I had partners at the time, and I remember that being a big deal, and it was scary, like, going out there and raising money, and we got it done, and then did another one, and then, you keep doing more deals, and you keep growing, and keep pushing your comfort zone, and you get, more and more comfortable in the space as you do more and more deals. And then now I'm like, man, like we have a fund and we're buying deals and like I'm the only guarantor on these like big loans now. And I'm like, that's crazy because like it wasn't that long ago to where like literally all I had to my name was a 401k. And now I am like the sole guarantor on these like large commercial loans and people just trust me with that kind of money. It's like pretty crazy to think, but it was like it was all the progression, and it's like all these like steps that needed to happen. And you push your comfort zone with each deal. They get a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. And then before you know it, you look back and like, man, I'm totally comfortable playing in this space now because I've done it and I forced myself to push the comfort zone a little bit. And that's where the growth happens.
Yeah, it's really all about making the decision and taking the steps forward and like getting around people that are doing it and that are better than you at it or, in the same space and legitimately wanting to do it, not just talking about it, right? Because people will talk and talk and talk forever, but get in a group that's actually going to do it and taking action every single day. Like every day is practice. This is what I believe. Like every day is practice and you're either practicing to be the person you are today or you're practicing to become the person 10 years from now, right? And so the only way you can become the person 10 years from now is by practicing the actions that that person's going to take. And so every day practice and do those things that that person 10 years from now would do. And that's going and buying real estate or whatever it is, but it's, like,
Mic drop right there. That was good. That was good. Cool, man. Well, hey, man, listen, I appreciate you coming on the show, dude. I'm a big fan and super excited to kind of see what the next move is for you. And I'm excited to witness all the growth firsthand. And yeah, I'm a big fan. So keep crushing. And I'm excited to see, dude, when are you going to start your podcast?
oh, putting me on the spot here.
Yeah, because I was just thinking while we were recording, I'm like, Cassidy doesn't have a podcast. I'm
I
like,
don't have a
let's
podcast.
go. What are we waiting for?
Well, I got to get back home. That's one thing. But yeah, I mean, the plan is to start it. I mean, I can't give you a date, but let's say this summer. Yeah, that's the plan is go heavy into content, start a podcast, meet really interesting people, talk to great people, and help other people learn about real estate, business, fitness. That's the plan.
I love it, man. Where can the folks get in touch with you, Kassidy?
I'm on Instagram. It's Q Kassidy W. Kassidy's with a K.
What's the Q mean?
That's actually my first name.
Really?
Yeah, it's Quinn.
Really?
Yeah,
And Cassidy's your middle?
it is my middle name.
Okay,
Yeah.
I had no idea, man.
Yeah. So that's been my thing for a while. So
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. Cool. Well, there it is. He's Kassidy Warren. I'm Rich Summers. Listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.